So in this video, we're going to go over buy-to-let versus Airbnb arbitrage in 2026, right? I'm going to do an honest comparison, even though I am kind of biased because I do Airbnb. But we're going to do the same city, same property, and we're going to go over some of the numbers, look at the maths, and we're going to see what makes the most sense for you to start in 2026. So right now in the UK, some new regulations have come out called the Renters' Rights Act, okay? And this is causing buy-to-let to be squeezed from every direction, okay? So what's the BTL squeeze that we're talking about right now? Section 24, mortgage interest is no longer deductible or taxed on gross rent, okay? Now, this is slightly different if you buy the property for a limited company, then the cost of the business can be the mortgage. So you can offset it that way, but then obviously the property isn't owned by you personally, it's owned by the business, okay? There's a stamp duty surcharge now on additional properties of 5%. So if you're a portfolio landlord that's buying additional properties, you're going to have to pay a 5% stamp duty surcharge, okay? Okay, there's EPC requirements. These are mandatory C rating by 2028. Certain certification you need, have the property and you want to rent it out, okay? Interest payments right now, they are obviously changing all the time based off the government set interest rate and what lenders are providing you, but there's 5% plus mortgages right now, which is obviously crushing the cash flow because it bites into your margins. And as I touched on earlier, the Renters' Rights Act, it's harder to regain possession. You can have people squatting in your property, not paying you for over a year, and you're still going to have to pay your mortgage, still have to pay your rent, still have to pay your payments to the mortgage, but they're not paying you. So this is why arbitrage is rising, okay? So there's low capital requirements, no deposit or mortgage needed. There's no Section 24 impact, rent is deductible from the business, okay? Strong short let demand, business travel, tourism, relocation, all these sort of things. And the regulations normalizing, okay? So in certain areas where you need council licenses and stuff, it's legitimizing the model, okay? It's making it easier to do. So for this comparison, we're using real property, real numbers in a real area, okay? This is going to be a 2-bed flat in Ancoats, Northern Quarter, Manchester, one of the strongest short let zones in the UK, okay? The property, as I said, 2-bed, flat, modern, secure entry, city centre in Ancoats, walkable distance from Piccadilly, restaurants, bars, business district, consistently high Airbnb occupancy in this area, okay? So what's the numbers? The purchase price is £200,000, okay? And if you're going to rent that out on a long-term basis, you're going to get £1,200 per month. On a short let comparable revenue, it's 2,400 to 2,800 monthly gross. So you can see right there that you can earn a lot of money, a lot more money from the same flat in the same location just by catering to Airbnb guests instead of just putting it on a typical tenancy. So what is scenario A? You buy the property to let it with a mortgage, okay? So, you know, your rental income is £1,200. You're going to do 5% on a £150,000 mortgage, which is £748. Your letting agent are going to take 12%, roughly, of what the rental income that's coming in on a typical tenancy. So it's about £144. You've got the maintenance issues. Now, because this is a new apartment, we've only put £167. But obviously, you know, this is a very variable thing. Insurance, £40. Service charge, £150. Void period, £69, you know, depending on, like, you know, how long people are, you know, you're waiting to get a new tenant in there. So you can actually end up with a negative monthly cash flow here. Okay, you put 50 grand in, a 25% deposit, which is what you're going to need to do if you want to buy it for a business to avoid, like, you know, stamp duty and things like that. To avoid, I mean, offset your mortgage. You still have to pay stamp duty, but to offset your mortgage, you could be looking at a negative cash flow here, guys. Okay, and the Section 24 tax impact on that, you know, you're going to be taxed on that monthly income, which is about £14,400 a year, and with the mortgage rate interest not deductible, if you bought it by yourself, depending on how you've set this up, you could literally be losing money, okay? and the capital gains tied up, 50k deposit plus the 10k stamp duty plus the fees. Okay, that's 62 grand you've deployed to get this property. Depending on what your mortgage rate is, it could be even higher. But one of the big positives where buy to let is actually winning is the capital appreciation, the value of that property going up 3-4%. That could be 6 to 8k on paper value, which is real. Extra income that you've earned by the value of that asset going up. But obviously, this is not liquid. It's unrealized and not guaranteed. If you sell the property, there's no guarantee you're going to get that. That's just kind of how the market's gone up naturally. But obviously, you have to sell it to actually realize it. Okay, here's scenario B where you use rental arbitrage on the same flat. Okay, so there's no mortgage, no deposit, no stamp duty, no EPC liability, and no Section 24. Okay, so the Airbnb gross revenue is £2,145. You're paying that rent to the landlord that you would have been receiving if you bought it and done a typical tenancy. So the person that actually owns the property now, you're paying them that rent. Okay, so that's going out to the landlord. Because you're renting it, you're covering the utilities. You're obviously Airbnb-ing it, so there's cleaning charges, insurance, obviously softwares like your channel manager, and furnishing it. Obviously, this could depend, but obviously furnishing a property is a one-time deal when you're staging it. Okay, you can already see the net monthly profit here. It's £402. Okay, so yeah, the capital required is going to be the first month's rent, the security deposit, furnishing the property, the insurance, and all the tools you're going to use. So it's about £5,600, but you can compare that. But if you compare that to the numbers here, where it's 62,000 minimum, 5,600 is a hell of a lot cheaper, a hell of a lot less money being tied up in that investment that then could be put into other things like doing more rental arbitrage deals or in the stock market where you might get better returns. You can see the benefit, guys. Okay, so you're going to earn more money because the gross revenue of Airbnb is going to be much higher than a typical tenancy. You're deploying less capital and it's more tax efficient. Okay, so you're going to pay 19% on your profits, depending on what the corporate tax rate is. It can be 19 to 25% in the UK right now. There's no Section 21. The rent's fully deductible off the cost of your business. Okay, so you can just offset the money that you're paying out to the landlord, and which you can't do if you're buying it personally in the UK anymore. Okay, so you can see right now it's 5,600 in, 402 out. Okay, so just based off this example, guys, you can see that the money being in and the money coming out, less money's going in and more money's coming out. So it just shows you the benefits of scenario B. Here's a master comparison of the two options, buy to let and rental arbitrage. Okay, it's the same property, same city, and we put all the numbers in the same column here. So capital required to start, it's less with rental arbitrage. The monthly net profit after tax is higher than doing buy to let. Okay, the break even capital, you're not going to be earning anywhere near. It's almost no point doing buy to let. Yeah, maybe you might go from making a small loss and gaining it on the value appreciation of the property, or you're going to earn a little bit of money, but it's never going to be able to compete with what you can earn by doing Airbnb. Okay, so the break even on capital is better. Tax efficiency with Section 24, you're taking a massive hit. With a limited company, you're going to be fully deductible on your payments for the property. Okay, stamp duty to buy the property is £10,000. Rental arbitrage, 0. Okay, EPC upgrade liability, for your energy and your compliance, you're not liable for it. That's what the landlord does. Okay, the capital appreciation is better on buy to let, guys. Okay, property, give or take, is always going up in value because obviously it's a finite thing and more people need them at the moment than we're building. So it's a supply and demand factor. If the population starts shrinking and we're building more, then there's no, basic economics tell you that capital appreciation would stop. But that's another story for another day. And the scalability, obviously, with the big capital required to start, it's much more scalable to rental arbitrage, guys. So you can see the benefits right now. So what if the £50,000 deposit was put into rental arbitrage instead of buying that property? Okay, so with Buy to let, you're going to get one property with £50,000 deployed. Okay, your monthly cash flow is going to be, it could be negative, it could be a small amount of money. Okay, and you're really doing it because you want to gain that appreciation on paper. That's 6 to 8K per year. If that same 50K was put into rental arbitrage, you know, divide it by how much it would cost to get one unit, you could be looking at about 8, 9 units. Okay, and the net profit per unit could be 500 to £1,000 a month, and you're going to get about £4,500 a month. Okay, and that's positive cash flow. So you just got to look at the benefits of that per month. Okay, if you forget the appreciation, and you can see right now that deploying that money instead of getting that deposit and actually establishing your own rental arbitrage business in the short let market, you're going to see much quicker, much faster monthly profit income. Okay, about £4,500. So this isn't actually about buy to let versus rental arbitrage. It's buy to let after arbitrage. Okay, you get that first arbitrage deal, you start seeing them lucrative incomes, and you launch your units. You then scale it to 5 to 10 units, and you're building up that per month rental income. And then you use that cash flow to buy properties through that business. Okay, where you can like deduct your mortgage payments because you're buying it for a limited company, and you're building using that cash flow to reinvest, and you're adding that appreciation factor. Okay, and you're buying from a position of strength. Okay, arbitrage builds the cash flow funds the deposit buys the asset, and this sequence is how most people have it backwards. Okay, you need to do it the other way. So if you're starting from zero, this really isn't a debate. Arbitrage gets you the cash flow, then the capital can get you access to the buy to let wealth game, and then you can play from a position of strength. Okay, you're building that cash flow first, build the capital second, not the other way around. So hopefully you've learned something in this video. Drop Airbnb in the comments, and I will reach out to you personally with a DM and give you the exact buy to let versus arbitrage spreadsheet with the same math, same columns ready to use. Okay, subscribe and hit the bell notification. I'm going to be doing more videos about AI and how you can grow your own Airbnb portfolio using the rental arbitrage system that I've spoke about in this video. And obviously I've got the host handbook, which is my own course, free course on School, where I dive into loads of different aspects of the business and teach you how you can get your first unit. Okay, so I hope you learned a lot in this video. Subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.